The bloody edict issued A.D. 413 against the so-called Anabaptists by the two Eastern emperors, Theodosius and Honorius. In order to give a thorough account of this bloody edict, and this in the best possible manner, we should present the different versions which we have found of it, word for word, and then state our own views in regard to the matter. First version according to the account of Sebastian Frank in his Chronique, 1563. The most important matter in this transaction, he writes, is the imperial code, which contains an edict issued by the emperors Theodosius and Honorius, which reads thus: If any minister of the Christian Church is found guilty of having rebaptized any one, he, together with the persons thus rebaptized, provided the latter is proved to be of such an age as to understand the crime, shall be put to death. Second version according to the annotation of Martin Bellius in the tract Van de Ketters, and of Man de Selve Sal Vervolgen, dedicated to Christopher, Duke of Württemberg. Since we must speak, he writes, of that imperial code, we will relate the following, namely, about the law contained in the first codex prohibiting rebaptism. Joined to the other, it reads thus: The emperors Honorius and Theodosius to A.A. Antonius the magistrate, if information is obtained that anyone has rebaptized a servant of the Catholic general religion, he shall be put to death, together with the latter who has committed a punishable crime, provided he is of an age admitting of the capability to commit such, and has been instructed concerning the matter. The above edict according to the annals of Cardinal Caesar Baronius in his Chronicles. In that year, he writes, the Emperor Theodosius issued an edict against the Anabaptists, commanding that they should be put to death. This was subsequently also quoted by the Inquisitor of Leeuwarden in his controversy with Jacques d'Auchy in the year 1558. These several versions of the edict of Honorius and Theodosius unanimously indicate three things. 1. That at that time, A.D. 413, there were people who were called Anabaptists. 2. That on account of this matter of rebaptizing, these people were exceedingly hated by the world, especially by the great. 3. It is shown how they were hated, namely unto death, so that the command was given that they should be punished with death. However, intelligent people will know that Christ our Savior predicted long before that such things would befall his disciples and followers. Matthew 10:22, Matthew 24:9, Mark 13:9, Luke 21:12, John 15:19, John 16:2. Moreover, that the aforementioned people against whom said edict was issued were not strange, unknown, erring spirits, but such people as are also in our day styled Anabaptists. This, not only the Inquisitor of Leeuwarden, A.D. 1558, readily admitted, as has been shown in the proper place, but all particulars of the last-mentioned authors make it almost as clear as the sun at midday, that this is the general opinion of the Romanists. Nay, it appears that the edict of Honorius and Theodosius was carried into execution not only A.D. 413 and in some of the subsequent years, but that it was no small cause of the last persecution of the Anabaptists, which began about A.D. 1524, through the strong urging of the Papists, especially of their clergy, who to all appearance by it induced the Emperor Charles V to renew said edict against the Anabaptists of their time, as being an identical people, and of the same faith with those who lived in the time of Honorius and Theodosius, at least that many papistic magistrates put to death innumerable pious Anabaptist Christians by virtue of said ancient edict of A.D. 413, appears with such certainty from various authors that it cannot with truth be denied. Now the couplet of Prosperus was verified, namely that baptism did indeed sanctify the true candidate in some measure, but that all this was perfected by the crown of martyrdom. This was afterwards rendered in German by Jacob Merning thus: Was heiligs bringt die Taufe schon, solch ganz erfüllet der Martyrer Kron. Footnote. In English this may be rendered thus: Sanctify baptism will indeed, but the martyr's crown doth all complete. End footnote. He means to say that those who were then baptized had to expect martyrdom. We shall therefore show what persons suffered at this time for the testimony of Jesus Christ, either by virtue of the above-mentioned edict or otherwise.